Hi, everyone, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, and fellow sustainability enthusiasts. Hello, everyone, and a very good morning and a very, very warm welcome to ABP Live Green Vision Conclave 2024. My name is Astha Sethi, and it is absolutely my pleasure to be hosting this conclave for all of you. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here, we are here to ignite a collective passion for sustainable and a healthier future for all of us. So let's ensure that we are here to share ideas, to inspire action, and collaborate towards a greener tomorrow. Together, all of us can shape a future for our planet and all our upcoming generations. And I think nobody more than us knows how important this is to do. This is the need of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very exciting set of panel discussions and sessions that are going to be talking about sustainability. Our esteemed panelists will share their views and their expertise in terms of how we as individuals can help achieve the sustainable development goals. And ladies and gentlemen, remember that charity begins at home. तो पहला कदम हमें खुद से ही लेना है. On that note, everyone, can we start this morning with a huge round of applause? Come on, can I hear it? Thank you. With that, let's begin with our first session, everyone. Now, our first panel highlights how schools can foster the next generation of green leaders by embedding sustainability in education. We are absolutely thrilled to have with us 5 spectacular panelists along with a moderator. I'm going to be introducing the panelists one by one. First up, we have Dr. Amrita Vohra, COO and Director of Education at GEMS Education India, a visionary with over 25 years of experience in transforming K-12 and higher education. Ms. Shipra Upadhyay joining us, who is the Head Capacity Development, Student Leadership and Events. She's an innovative educator with more than 25 years of teaching experience and administrative acumen. Everyone, can we give her a hand, please? Mr. Amreesh Chandra, Director of St. Paul's School, Gorakhpur, and the founder of Project OOSC, and addressing the issue of out-of-school children. Ms. Gunjan Mehrotra, Principal of Basava International School, New Delhi, a champion of holistic education, combining academics, ethics, and co-curricular activities. Can we all give her a hand, please? Last but definitely not the least, we have with us Ms. Ritika Anand, Principal of St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, New Delhi, known for her innovative ways of teaching methods and contributions to educational platforms like PM eVidya. Moderating the session will be Mr. Arijit Ghosh.
Thank you, ABP Group, for having all of us here. Today, for this panel discussion, and I don't have to re-emphasize how critical this topic is of sustainability. We have 5 wonderful EduRite luminaries on the stage who's going to make my job much easier, kind of trying to navigate the course of the discussion. Sustainability obviously is no longer a fad, a fancy word, especially sitting here in Delhi. We have been inhaling, I don't know, around 29 cigarettes a day or something of that sort. The toxicity, it's more than 40. It's more than 40, sorry. It's more than 40 cigarettes a day, so we can understand where we are heading and what would be the color of our lungs if we just take a look deep inside us. So I'm not going to get into that horror kind of an imagery description. Yes, we all agree that sustainability is something which we need to focus on. It's high time. And I'm very, very sure that all schools, I am pretty confident all the 5 schools or the group of schools who are representing today on the panel, on the stage, definitely have very core, I would say, examples to share with all of us, with the larger audience, as to how they have managed to make sustainability, sustainable education visible and impact the young learners in their institutes. But in general, sustainability is something which is there as the vision, as the purpose in almost all our schools. Just to give an example, if I talk about our schools, we have a value system called SPICE, S-P-I-C-E, where no points for guessing, S stands for sustainability. And the other 4 are possibility, I for integrity, C for collaboration, and E for empathy. And I'm sure these kind of coined terms are there in many of our other schools as well. Now, before I start formally the discussion, I want to share with the audience 2 small points. And I'm going to quote 2 models globally recognized. One, which was first published in 2012 in an Oxfam report. It's written by Kate Raworth, made later on into a book called Donut Economics, and her model is a donut. We all have donuts, right? So it's just like a donut, which has got a meaty layer, and there's a hole at the center. Now, what donut economics talk about is, or the donut, the definition of donut is, that the 2 layers, the 2 extreme, the inner layer, inner boundary, and the outer boundary. The inner boundary, she calls it as social foundation. And the outer boundary, she calls it as ecological ceiling. Social foundation and ecological ceiling. She goes on to say that any shortfall in the social foundation, which includes things like water, food, health, energy, education, peace and justice, social equity, all of those things, if there is a shortfall, then it is a red flag for humanity or humankind. Similarly, the ecological ceiling, if you overshoot that, now by ecological ceiling, we mean things like climate change, ocean acidification, land conversion, biodiversity loss, air pollution, ozone layer depletion, and so on. If we overshoot it, then also there is a red flag for humanity. Basically, what she advocates is being in that all-important meaty layer of between the donut that she calls as the safe and just space for humanity. That's Kate Raworth. The second thing which I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to mention a quote from a book, The Good Ancestor by Roman Zranek. Pardon me for my pronunciation of the surname. I think he's an Australian. The decisions we make today are not just about us. They are about the billions of people who are not yet born, but whose lives will be profoundly shaped by the choices we leave behind. With regards to sustainability and the environment, nothing can get so true than this particular quote, that it is not only for us, but for the generations who are supposed to come. So on that note, keeping these 2 points in mind, I want to start today's discussion, and there are quite a few principles on this panel. The first question, I'm not directing to anyone. Anyone can pick it up. Okay, later on I might direct a few questions. But I'm going to start off on a slightly difficult trajectory, if I may. Okay? Particularly this time of the year is the time of annual days in schools. Correct? Now, schools often claim to be models of sustainability. Okay? But many continue resource-intensive practices, extravagant annual events, excessive technology use. So is this the way the schools today are inadvertently promoting consumerist mindsets? Or are, as schools, we are willing to hold ourselves accountable for the ecological footprint? And what should that accountability look like?
I'm sorry, I'm just grabbing this one.
Super. All difficult questions to Amrita from now on.
Okay.
Go on.
All right. No, but my reason, annual days is something that I've never believed in. I've had my share of fights with the school promoters on this as a head of school numberless times. But what's important to every single parent and why we all do annual days is because, or whatever we want to call them, is because every parent basically wants their child to have confidence. Every parent wants their child to be on that stage. And that's the whole point. But having been someone from the background of theatre, I cannot have some kids on stage holding a tree, being something else, and so on. But all kids have to be on stage, yes. So, and also all the other aspects around sustainability. And we're consuming so much. This is, I call it the generation today, and we are also part of it actually, alongside the kids around. The generation unlimited. We're consuming through instant gratification, just so much we're busy consuming our very planet, not realizing there is no other really right now where we can survive. Okay, so those aspects included, how we transformed it, and that's become something eventually that parents actually love. Whatever name we give it, but every child has to be on stage. So we do walking theatre, promenade, and we do break the fourth wall of theatre for the purpose, where the audience is also equally engaged. Now we may be picking up any theme, like everyone does, but the thing is that if I go very deep into literature, which happens to be my subject, what happens is that the person who's the audience may not really understand a certain kind of story. If I'm talking about a Brechtian model, my parent may not know. If I'm talking about theatre of the absurd, sometimes some parents may not know. So, and it takes a village to raise a child, so, and school has to be a large community. We were just a while ago talking about impact that those maybe 2,000, 3,000 kids in the school have on the larger community. So everything has to have impact, and everything is all about education. So what happens is that we start, if the annual day is, let's say, going to be in February, we start now. Start preparing them now. And all aspects of, lots of, parent engagement that we want to do goes in a little bit of detail every day, connecting it to some story or the other or style that is going to be linking and actually educating my parent community on the idea of that annual day. There is a set of children who performs, yes, but there are different groups who perform. This annual day thing goes on for 4 days. And every day we have back-to-back about 9 sets of performances. While one is finishing, the other is begun. And the performance happens all across the school. One stage, so there are different stages, and we have the Sutradhars who take the audience. At one time, no more than 100 people. So basically, every grade level gets to have a separate stage, and the show goes on. And it's beautiful. The logistics gets managed. We tell the parents that this is your timing, this is when you can be there, but please do carpools if you can, and do not get your cars, that will be the best of all. and so on and so forth. Logistics gets beautifully managed. We don't book any big halls. We don't have an Audi in one of the schools, and yet we don't book any halls. It all just works around the small niches and nooks and corners within the campus.
So the ecological footprint is well under control. Fine. Anyone else want to pitch in?
Yes.
Yes, please.
And I believe child is the father of man. So if we want to communicate something to the community at large, nothing better than taking the help of students. And these annual concerts, annual functions, I think there can be a lovey-dovey alliance between sustainability and the annual celebrations. For example, there could be a mime on water conservation. So I'm sure when the parents see their children performing, their children raising the issue, there would be some kind of an understanding. So annual celebrations can very well be aligned with sustainable goals, and we can make sure that the parents learn something from their children and they are able to make a difference. Because all good changes begin from schools.
Yes. And just one point, like for example, in our school, we do not have annual days at all. We have smaller functions for a group of students. And when we talk about sustainability, I feel costumes and jewelry, that is something which is a big, it's something which is a burden on the planet when the children purchase new costumes and jewelry, etc., etc. So we have our own ways of recycling older costumes, again and again, using the same costume, so that at least this part of putting so much burden on the planet is taken care of, and there are no annual days per se in the school.
So audience, now you know why these people are the panelists and why this question did not fall well with these panelists. Because they are champions of sustainability. So the ecological footprint is kept under track. The reuse, recycle is very much ingrained into their system as well. So, yeah, Shipra ma'am.
One very important point, I think what you're talking about is very relevant, but something which we have worked very deeply and very closely is coherence. Bringing coherence to what you're doing, your daily actions and the greater purpose of your life. I think that has to align. Once the child understands that, once the parents understand that we are talking to the children at a higher platform, at a higher level. Conversations are on deeper, issues, rather than just looking at the use of paper or, looking at costumes or, lighting or technology. It's on deeper issues. It's on existential issues. Then, the coherence that comes in, it's very, very gratifying to see students themselves taking ownership of things that need to happen. Not because we tell them to, but because they feel it deep inside that this needs to take place. So I think that's a very relevant, point which as a school we've been able to inculcate in the students.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving forward, Amrita, I'll come to you with my next question. Now, schools often act as community hubs. We always say that a particular school is a 5-kilometer radius. In smaller towns, maybe is a 10-kilometer radius. Okay, the entire student range comes from that. So obviously, school often acts as community hubs, and sustainability often demands a systemic approach. So my question to you is, how can implementing sustainable practices in schools can influence families and communities to adopt similar behaviors? How important is collaboration in local areas? Can you quote some of best practices? Because you come from Gorakhpur, so some best practices over there, what you have done in your school.
Thank you very much. I think that your question actually connects with the first one, because the idea is, what is the impact that school leaders and schools can do, which goes beyond an annual function. And, but just before I answer your question, let me ask to put some meat to the answer. Let me just, I can see there are students and teachers here. If I can get one student volunteer and one teacher volunteer, if I can just have one teacher and one student just stand. Okay, one teacher and one student, just two of, one student can stand. Are you a student? You're a student. So if I just ask you a question as, what is your subject of excellence? Is it science? Is it maths? What is the subject of excellence? Sorry? Okay. Any extracurriculars? Do you love sports? Do you love anything of that kind?
I do love football and cricket and
Are you
theatre
a
a
captain
bit.
are you a captain of a game?
Not as a captain, but I like to be the vice captain because it blends well with the team.
Thanks. Just thank you. Sit down, please. Now, the idea is I'll go back knowing that I met a student who wore a black jacket, who liked football, had a subject of emphasis, and was probably a vice captain. But I did not go with his name. Talking of sustainability without talking about the 17 sustainable development goals, in my understanding and practice of nearly 15 years, along with the United Nations, is actually a waste of time. Unless, why does your textbook have chapters? Why don't you have everything jumbled up together? Why is it broken in modules so that it gets to you and you understand it? So the identity of sustainability by the United Nations is broken into 17 chapters. The idea is, as schools, how can we impact and propel those 17 sustainable goals in whatever we do? So if I look around here, right, I can very well ask a question to the event, are these plastic bottles recyclable? Have you used flexiprints? And the answer probably yes. But is a flexiprint recyclable, sustainable? Probably not. But is an acrylic sheet with an acrylic sticker? Yes, it is. So the question is, we at St. Paul's do not teach or believe in teaching sustainability. We believe in a culture that teaches you automatically about sustainable development goals. So for example, why has many schools taken away moral science? Because they thought that the textbook does not teach moral science. But the practices, the core values of the pedagogy and the philosophy of the teachers and the school management teaches you moral science. So similarly, sustainability, if I ask anyone, what is a moderator, what is the badge that he's wearing on his lapel? Can somebody tell me? What is the badge that he's wearing? One hand. One hand that can tell me, I promise an amazing dinner with you in Delhi, with the entire panelists, without the permission. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That is the sustainable development wheel that he's wearing on his lapel, made by the United Nations, that has 17 color codes. What he's not wearing is the number and what each donates. So my conversation, probably with Yash would be, or with Raja would be, and I usually have this question, is that does your textbook, at the end of it, communicate not sustainability, but which goal of sustainability does it refer to? Does it have the logo and the importance of what that logo is? So you will go back, water waste, grid waste, plastic waste. Which goal are you working at? What is your identity? Imagine buying a ticket and going to watch a movie in a theater without the title of it. You'd love the movie. Which movie did you watch? You don't know. So you're working on sustainability. This is not building a greener, sustainable for tomorrow. It is a backslash. What is the United Nations saying? Are they saying achieve sustainability by 2030? No, they're saying achieve sustainable development goals by 2030, which automatically gives you sustainability. If you buy a ticket on Indigo for Delhi to Goa, you will go to Goa. You just cannot buy a ticket without a destination, right? So coming back to the moderator's question, at St. Paul's what we have done is that as you enter the campus, I had requested if we can get a picture up, if somebody has been able to do that. That's the school campus. As you enter, every corridor, every wall, every pillar, every lawn tennis court, this badminton auditorium, the toilets, the transportation system, the buses, the drivers, everybody everywhere you would see, even the water tank up, you say goal number 4 is actually a water tank. Talks about SDGs. So because of the footprint, in a capacity of 2,000 children, every month you have an X number of children that come. So the impact circle of a 2,000 strength is 21,000 people, individuals. So everybody that comes into St. Paul's goes away first saying, what is this? And then they are going to propel and ask a question and probably know. If a teacher gets an appointment letter, they will get it on a letterhead pad, as any one of us would do. But you have to specifically have the aims and goals and the logos on the letterhead pad that we're talking about. If you get a transfer certificate from my school, you'll see the logos there as well. If you look at your exercise books, at the back of it, you do not have a timetable like you usually have. You have all the SDG goals. This year, our rough exercise books, our homework diaries are all made of recycled paper. So the idea is, my thought process is that everything and the success, as the moderator said, depends on goal number 17, which is collab. You need to collab. We need to collab. I'm going to get back and probably meet all of you and see how we can collab.
So
Because
it's
without
basically
collaboration, you
making
cannot.
things visible, number one.
So propelling the awareness. So just quickly, level 0 in United Nations is awareness. Without awareness,
Correct.
there is no compliance. And awareness can only come when you propel. So the abundance that a school has is its campus and students. Use them to propel SDGs and impact the society.
Super.
I'll just add to that.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
just
just
add
quickly
to
go
that.
to Shipra connecting this. Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah.
Just adding to that, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the world's largest lesson, actually, thanks to Amreesh's efforts, was actually launched at one of our schools. That is what UN called it, the world's largest lesson. And yes, that's a lesson definitely we all need to take because the very future is at stake. We in schools talk about the future of children. The very future is not going to be probably there. Then that is no longer a choice. Now, one of the things, apart from all that he's already said, that is very critical is that in every single lesson plan, the teachers link whatever concept it may be, irrespective of the subject, to at least one SDG goal. And how is it impacting me here and now in my local context? What can I do about it? And how is it impacting me, maybe someone in some other part of the world in their context? And what kind of collaboration, which is a key word here, can we really do or make happen in our little simple capacity? Children do audits on sustainability, wherein they talk about, children came up with this, why do we not use recycled paper? There's so much of A4 used in the school. Why do we have any single piece of stationery that is not sustainable in nature in our notebooks or in the pencils or anything else that we are consuming? We need to do this. They created their own garden of hope. So like ma'am said, there's coherence, there's sense of ownership that develops on its own when you allow children to have their way. And that's the beauty of it. And that's when real transformation starts to happen.
Amrita, I'll come to you a little later to expand on world's largest lesson. I think it's a great, great point. But very quickly, coming back to the initial chain of thought regarding the collaboration. Now, you represent, again, a group of schools, City Montessori School, famous for huge number of global events, Vasudev Kutumbakam. So with that in mind, so what is your observation of how partnerships from local, we started off from local, but as well as global partnerships, because there are a lot of international students always through these events in your campus, and I'm sure there are a lot of international partnerships which are there, that how can these partnerships create advanced sustainability education and produce measurable outcomes? What impact are you seeing in your students through these partnerships?
I think the greatest what we have witnessed over the past maybe 20 years I'll talk about, because that's like where we could measure and we could say, is acceptability. That is something which has made connections, and because of those connections, there's this whole culture of willingness to learn new things. Otherwise, you know, we were set in our ways. We were very comfortable. We were the largest school by numbers, and there was no actually, you know, no such competition as such where numbers were concerned. But then we found that because we are a large numbered school, we are a large workforce. We can actually impact a very large ecosystem at one go. When I'm talking about one child or two children, then it's difficult. But when we're talking about, say, 63,000 students spread across 25 campuses, our work area increased. Yeah? And then, of course, we learned the art of collaboration. Mr. Arijit, I do say that because, you know, we learned to interact even amongst our own schools. The needs, you know, became one. We were able to identify, because all of us were engaged in the same prospects and the same collaborative kind of activities. We learned how, you know, sharing makes things very easy. We learned how we could recycle, you know, what we were doing. I'll just give you a very brief example. In a school where softboards are put up all around, you know, every week the softboard gets changed, and then that material is discarded. We didn't do that. Okay, the softboard in class 4B goes into the softboard, becomes the softboard of class 5C, because the children in 4B had seen it for a week, but 5B had not. So why can't we? You know? And this saved not only on sustainability, it saved on effort which could be redirected elsewhere. It saved on time. It saved on learning. It set a precedent that things could be shared, co-owned, and, you know, co-used. And that's a culture which I think we need, because this rip-off culture we have, you know, one single-use things. So we have to get back to that where we actually kept on reusing. You have jokes on the internet going that, you know, you use a toothbrush, an Indian will use it how, you know, a toothbrush, how it goes through. But it's such a practical and sustainable way of living. You know, one piece of plastic, it used to last our, you know, generations before us, maybe for 30 years. We kept on recycling it and using it in different ways, capacities. We did not look for new. This culture of new which we have got, that I think has impacted sustainability to a very great extent. And how do we mitigate it? You know, by understanding, by renewing, you know, our purposes and aligning them, bringing them together, and seeing how even recycled is very beautiful. Because basically the human heart is looking for beauty, for a lot of wonderful things around. And once we give the human heart that, you know, that desire to constantly own, as you said, consumerism, that kind of goes away. Yeah.
Super. I think I'll just share one small personal anecdote. My first visit to CMS was way back in 2007 in one of their international events, Quanta, which is maths and science event. And even that time, the first time I heard Dr. Gandhi speak about how you need to take care of the world. The world is one. And I think the vision needs to be spelled out very clearly. And during that time, and those were the years where the Millennium Development Goals were in place. And every single campus, I visited 3 campuses. At that time, there were, I think, around 17 or 19 campuses. Okay. So every single campus, just like what Amreesh showed his school, similarly, things were made visible as to what we are going to achieve. So I think visibility matters, because that leads to awareness, and then which is easy to have the compliance and impact in place. I'll quickly jump to you, ma'am. Now, there is a very fine line between educating and activism. Okay? We are currently all talking about that, yes, we are doing this to showcase impact. We are educating not only the child, but we are bringing parents also into the loop. Now, what do you think, or how do you kind of maintain this balance of inspiring both the students as well as parents, but also not overwhelm them? Okay, any comments from your experience in your school, how you have managed it?
I have the privilege of using this stage, so I will not speak just for my school. Of course, I will. But then I think I have the responsibility of speaking on behalf of all educators, educationists, and schools that are not here. So, speaking of schools, most schools have understood the importance of sustainable development goals, and schools are working towards it. Even government schools, who are generally not counted in the race, have also started working. So when we talk about sustainable development goals, the 17 sustainable development goals, without overwhelming, you said that there's a difference between activism. I believe there is a difference between activism and education. So activism is the contingency plan. When education is in place, you do not have to worry about activism. So there are 5 pillars on which I will base my whatever I have to say. The 5 pillars of the Sustainable Development Goals is people, prosperity, planet, peace, and partnership. So when we talk about people, we begin with the youngest members of the world. That is the pre-primary section. If we talk of education, these pre-primary children are going to take the reins of responsibilities sooner, within 10, 15, 20 years. So when we talk about the pre-primary children, as Maria Montessori has said, let me do it myself. The children need to be told how they can do things on like all by themselves. So telling the children, asking the children, where does your garbage go? Or perhaps something like, where does water come from? And how much water should you generally consume? How you can save water. These are very simple things. Even pre-primary children would like answers to it. That how is it that we have tap water, but the maid doesn't have tap water at her place? So there are very small things that can be taught right from the beginning, that are taught right from the beginning. The pre-primary teachers who are generally not given their due, they work the hardest to make sure that they are able to instill righteous values in the children. And these things, these are this is the cornerstone of ensuring that we will get global citizens who will understand the importance of these SDGs. Then we have to talk about prosperity. If children are not future ready, if the children are not prepared to face the world with confidence, all the efforts of the school go down the drain. So it is important that we make the children future ready, not just academically, of course, through understanding of sustainable goals and the values. Because something that all of us need to understand is that this world cannot afford competition anymore. We need collaboration. So all the activities that happen in the classroom, all the activities that happen in the school, they should have more of group discussions, and they have more of group discussions, more of teamwork. All schools are working towards it. We want more of teamwork because we want to replace competition with collaboration. We want children, because the world is going to be a difficult place to live in for these children when they grow up. There'll be water scarcity, there'll be climate issues. It's a little late now to say that, okay, everything will fall in place in 20 years. It will take more time. So having said that, I believe that the children have to learn to live with collaboration so that even if they have a glass of water, they should be able to share it. That is something that we need to ensure. Then when we talk about the planet, all of you, I'm sure you know, 3% of the land in this world is cities. 3% land in this world is cities, and we consume 80% of the energy. And our carbon emission is also 75%. Our water footprint is huge. The coffee that many of you have on your table, with due respect, this coffee took 140 liters of water to reach your table, fit for consumption. The clothes that we wear, sometimes some clothes take as much as 10,000 liters of water. The food that we eat, there's a lot of hidden water that goes into it. So sensitizing the children, making the children understand that we have just one planet, there's no planet B. As Greta Thunberg says, there's no planet B. We all are dependent on this planet. So it is very important that this sensitization travels to the parent also, as you said, sir. So when we talk about parents, holding seminars for parents where we can talk about renewable energy, encourage them to have solar panels in their house, using solar energy is something which talks highly of collaboration. Because it is immaterial if we change the child and we are not able to change the parent. We need to go hand in hand. We are a team. All of us, we are teams. We are all stakeholders. So the teachers, the parents, both of us have to work in cohesion. We have to work together to ensure that the child is brought up the right way. So understanding the planet, as Margaret Thatcher has said, we do not have a freehold on this planet. All of us are just tenants here. So we need to gift a good planet to our children. Peace. Peace, not just Russia-Ukraine war or Israel offenses or something going on with Hezbollah. No, I'm not talking about that peace alone. I'm also talking about peace with nature. So when we have plantation drives or we talk about water harvesting, these things are practiced by my school, and I'm sure other schools also practice. We have rainwater harvesting, we have plantation drives, we also have a scheme called the Raddiwala scheme where all the paper is assembled well and we put it to good use. So when we talk about peace, we also need to be in peace with nature, like Antariksh Shant, Akash Shant, Prithvi Shant, Vanaspate Shant. So all this needs to be instilled in our children. Of course, partnership, I've already spoken about collaboration. So all these things cannot happen until and unless we have the cooperation of parents.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, please. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, all the P's that you've mentioned are absolutely so accurately said. Again, the thought that I come from, most of the P's that you mentioned specifically connect with one SDG goal. Now, if you were to propel this piece across your school, and probably you've had some kind of a logo or something to do that, and you put those identities of those SDG goals with those P's, what you've done is you've already taught them sustainability, but you've also taught them sustainable development goals. So I think you said of how to draw the line. All of us have basketballs and volleyballs. Just to tell you that none of them are sustainable. But there are brands in the market that a basketball is made out of the red Coca-Cola plastic cap, right? So I think while we are talking about not being overwhelming to the parents and in conjunction with what ma'am said, it's very important that the leadership of the school takes to understand that you need to not teach. Curriculum is not the only thing. You need to create a culture. And a culture can only be created, which social media has proved, is when you link with identity. Social media is all about people knowing who we are. So when you connect with somebody, right? I'm going to go back today, because I've heard all the panelists. In my mind, I am resonating with Amrita and everybody else with specifically one goal that they're talking about, right? From me, these 4 individuals, including you, are going to be champions of that goal. So identifying with that will just propel something like the triple Ps that you're doing or the 5 Ps that you're doing. So yes, you have to draw a line of not being overwhelming, but the management and the leadership really needs to invest time and energy in teaching people sustainable development goals. So I have been to a lot of conferences across the world. I haven't yet been to something that says the role of schools in promoting sustainability. This is my first, right? I've always been in higher education. But if I had to term it, I would have said sustainability / sustainable development goals.
I think that's a very, very fair point. And I think credit to the ABP group, the ABP network, for putting up this particular topic up for discussion. I don't think we have any further time, right? So we have to draw a close to this fantastic conversation. I would love to carry on, just like I think the panelists would love to carry on for double the time, I think, more than that. We cannot stop talking about sustainability, but with the paucity of time in mind, thank you very much, the panelists. Amazing pointers.
I think we need to remember that sustainability is synonymous with the idea of service. If we do not get up and serve the world, believe me, whatever effort we'll make, everything we've talked about is actually useless. We go out into the world with the mindset that we need to serve our fellows, and sustainability automatically walks inside the door. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all our esteemed panelists and our moderator for sharing these absolutely transformative ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite on stage Mr. Yash Mehta, CEO of ABP Education, and Samvid Bhattacharya, National Digital Sales Head, to please come up on the stage and felicitate all our speakers right here. Everyone, can we give them a hand, please? Everyone, can we all give them a hand? It was absolutely a very, very transformative discussion in terms of the ideas that have been brought forward. And as I said in the beginning that, charity begins from home. So I hope that all of you have had a lot of key takeaways from this discussion, and all of us start implementing this today itself. Can I also now request Mr. Raja Gupta to please join us for the group photograph. And thank you, Mr. Yash, Mr. Raja, for curating this entire session, which is very, very fruitful for all of us. Thank you so much to all our panelists, our moderator, our curators once again for this very, very fruitful discussion. Thank you so much for joining me on the stage. Thank you.